Welcome to this lecture on creating chapters, sections, and pages. Now, if you haven't already, now would be a good time to save your document. To do that, we'll go to our File menu and we'll select Save. Now, in my case, I've already saved this document, so if I select Save, it's simply going to overwrite the file that I've saved previously. If this is the first time that you're saving, you'll get a dialog box that lets you choose where this project will be saved. What we're going to cover in this section is how to work with chapters, sections, and pages. Now, your book is made up of chapters, and a chapter can contain both pages and sections. A section is part of a chapter. You can use sections to divide the content of a chapter into topics, or you can use sections for self-contained types of content. So if you're going to include some lessons at the end of each chapter, or some activities or case studies, you can use sections to do that. And all the sections will appear together at the end of the chapter that they're in, after all the pages associated with that particular chapter. Now we'll take a look at how we reorder sections and chapters. We've gone through this information before, but remember that you can reorder chapters and sections at any time simply by dragging them in the book pane to the new location, and iBooks Author will automatically renumber the sections and the chapters for you. Now, as we start to add content, you'll see that new pages will be added automatically. But we do have the option of adding pages first. In our case, what I'm going to do is start by importing some text that I've already written up. So I have a folder called text, and it has a number of Word documents in it that I'm going to be using for my chapters and sections. Now, when you're working in Word or in Pages, it's a good idea to divide your chapters and your sections into multiple files or into individual files. And the reason I say that is it'll just be easier for you when you're doing your import. You certainly can have a single document that can be brought into iBooks Author, and it'll do some splitting of the document into different chapters and sections, but it's not always reliable, so I find it easier just to have multiple document files that I can bring into iBooks Author. So in order to add this Word document, there's a couple of ways I can do that. Let's just do the easiest way, which is simply taking the file from the Finder window and just dragging it over to my sidebar. And you can see that when I do that, I get the cursor icon changes to a green plus icon, and you can see that I have a blue line that's appeared in the book pane. So I'm just going to go ahead and let go of the mouse cursor, and you can see that now I have two options for the layout that I want to use for the imported content. And these are two options that are defined in this particular template. If you're using a different template, you may see additional layouts. And of course, we can go ahead and customize this template and include additional layouts that we may want to use in our book. The other option that I have in this particular dialog box is the option to preserve document paragraph styles on import. If you're applying formatting to your Word document or to your Pages document, then you'll want to select this. And if you do that, the imported content will have those paragraph styles preserved. If you don't want to do that, then you can simply leave this option unchecked. In my case, I don't have any formatting applied. I'm simply going to go ahead and select Choose. It's going to use that layout and bring in the content. And you can see that it's brought in, a single page. I can go ahead and modify the title name. Right now it's just using the file name. If I double click, it will select an individual word. If I triple click, it'll select the entire text. So we'll go ahead and call this introduction. Okay. And what I also want to do is I want to replace this placeholder image. In fact, when you are submitting your book to the bookstore, make sure that you have removed all placeholder images, because that is a flag that will prevent your book from being published to the iBook store. So make sure that you remove all of the placeholder imagery that's included in the templates. So in my case, I have an image that I want to use already. If I hit the space bar in the Finder window, you can see the image with Quick Look. And I'm just going to drag this graphic onto my main window. You'll notice that again the cursor changes to a green plus. That tells me that it's ready for me to drop it. I'll go ahead and just let it go. And you can see that it's brought that in for me. Now there is some placeholder text here, some Latin or maybe gibberish, and what I want to do is remove that. So I'll just go over here and just select some text. I'll just cut that and then I'll just add it to my template. Now again, it really depends on how your what kind of book you're writing and how you want to do this, but in this case, the layout that I used for chapters, it has a little preamble to the chapter. If I used the other layout, I wouldn't have to do this additional step. So again, just keep in mind that you want to look at each template, look at the layout options, and then organize your content accordingly. Okay, so let's add a section to this chapter, and the section I'm going to add has to do with the history of New York. And again, to do this, I'm just going to drag this item onto the sidebar. Now when I do that, you can see that it actually changes, that the blue line does not extend all the way to the left. If I go above the chapter, you can see that it actually does extend further to the left. That tells me that this is going to be added as a chapter. If the blue line is shorter, that tells me that this will be added to this book as a section. Now what I like to do is I like to just drop it right on the chapter where I'm adding the section, and that seems to be the most reliable way of doing that. Now when we let go of our mouse cursor, we get some additional options for the layout, and you can see that there are 4 or 5 different options for sections. In my case, I'm just going to select the section text, the second option, and click choose. And now you'll notice that the section has appeared after that original page that we imported. So that's what I meant by sections appearing at the end of each chapter. So we'll go ahead and just modify that. And I have an image here as well. And I'm just going to, again, drag it over. Now we're going to get into fixing the masking a little bit later on. So don't worry about this particular image for now. The one thing I do want to do is just include the description. So I'm just going to copy that from my text file. And again, if I triple click, it'll select the entire paragraph. I'll just go ahead and paste that in. And you can see that there's an additional figure title here. We'll get rid of that in a second. Okay, so I've got a single chapter and I have an additional section. I'll show you one other way that you can add content to your iBooks author project. Going to your application menu bar and selecting Insert Chapter From. So if we select that option, you can see that we have the option to either insert a chapter from Pages, from Word, or even an InDesign file. So I'll just go ahead and select Pages or Word, and I will go to my folder and I will go ahead and select, actually we'll go ahead and select the demographics piece. Okay, and again I have the same options. This time maybe what I'll do is I'll select the second layout option, click choose, and you can see that now it's added this new chapter. Now if I want to continue adding sections and chapters, I can do that. Again, I'm going to add geography, drop it on the chapter 1, add a new section, and it'll bring that in. So now my book is comprised of 2 chapters and 2 sections within my first chapter. And what I wanted to just show you here is how you would reorder sections and chapters. So you notice that if I just click and drag on the first section page, I can reorder it very easily just by clicking and dragging it in the right place in the book pane. Okay, so now our geography section is going to appear before the history. So we'll go ahead and just fix that up. Okay. So what I would do at this point is continue adding some additional documents to this book just to get a bit more practice. And in the next section, we're going to start working with the table of contents.